If every day just followed a script with all your love worked into it, would you ever feel warm enough? Or is it just the price of growing up? Your past mistakes and tragedies are laying bare in front of me, waiting for a spark to kill the cold. Your past mistakes and tragedies are laying bare, disgusting me, watching as it casually unfolds. What goes on inside?
Good evening, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday. Wanted to get on here and just kind of have a casual conversation. You know, the other night when I did the 911 call, it felt so frantic, kind of, that I don't know why it felt rushed, but I thought I'd get on here and just talk a little bit, see how it goes. I'm always promoting something. I don't know if y'all have ever had the 7 Brew smoothie, but I got a strawberry, banana, cinnamon, and honey smoothie. You need to try it if you haven't done that yet. First of all, I want to pull up the documents and then read the documents first, and then talk a little bit about the documents. Let me get the website. Hope everybody's doing all right. Today has been one of those days that seems like everywhere I go, I make a friend. And I hope tonight isn't one of those nights that, those kind of nights. Want it to be nice and cordial and everything else. don't want it to be one of those kind of get in here and fight type of nights. I just want to be having a chill kind of discussion, you know? Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask? I think people just have gone a little wild with this case. So wild that they call you names. I just had somebody leave me a comment calling me a clown. I was like, touche. What else can I say? You know what I mean? Duck, how you doing? Southwest Firefly, thank you for being here. And Rondi Potter, thank you for being here. You know, I don't know if y'all know what it takes to run a channel. I'm going to talk a little bit, then I'm going to get into these documents, okay? Yeah, me too, Southwest Firefly. I hear you. I hear you. I don't know if you understand. Maybe you do, Southwest Firefly, because you're on panel with Salty. So I know you understand what it's like to try to do the most objective things while you're on the panel and stuff, and you have to monitor so much stuff. Can you do me a favor, Firefly? Can you let Dolphin know that I unblocked her? It seems like somebody, I don't know who did it. It wasn't me. Somebody blocked her, and I was looking through my things today, and I noticed that she was blocked. So I unblocked her. I don't know why anybody would block her, and that's another reason that, man, it's like you give somebody a wrench and they just go crazy. I just don't understand that. I didn't block her. I mean, I just saw that she was in there, and I was like, what the heck? You know, everybody's welcome in here until they show that they're not capable of being an adult, you know? And I had to pull myself back today in a chat because I found myself, if you've ever been in my lives very often back in the beginning, I used to lose my temper a lot. And I was in the chat today and I was listening to somebody go off and talking about Dylan and Bethany, and they were calling them all this stuff, and they were talking about them and how they weren't children and all this stuff, and how they didn't see the blood, and all this stuff. And I mean, I guess I've just had enough of people shaming the victims. I mean, you're free to believe if they're victims or not. I'm not trying to tell you what to think, and I've never tried to tell anybody what to think. But in these chats, you go in other chats and you say something. If it doesn't align with other people's beliefs, man, they just come at you. And then there's like all these other type of people who believe the same way they do, and they just start, just trying to tear your stuff down. So I found myself starting to lose my temper, and I told the creator, thank you for having me there, because I was about to show my ass. And, you know, sometimes I got to keep my drawers on. I can't be showing my ass all the time. What up, Jeff? What's going on, buddy? So I just left that chat and I was just like, I got to go. I had one of those moments where I almost lost my stuff. It says, come now, the state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and respectively moved to court for an order in limine allowing the state to admit the recording and transcript of the 911 call to Whitcomb on November 13, 2022. The 911 recording was discovered as audiovisual 000002, and the transcript was discovered as Bates 1242-12426. The facts pertinent to this issue have raised by this motion can be found in the attached excerpts from the grand jury transcript, the 911 call recording, and the transcript of the 911 call. The argument is the statements on the 911 call are hearsay but fall within firmly rooted hearsay exceptions and should be allowed. So, do we have any lawyers in the chat? Do we have any lawyers in the chat? Oh, that's a good one, Jeff. Yeah, I might need to give me some Dickies coveralls. We have any lawyers in the chat? Any paralegals? Anybody? Okay. In general, testimony that is hearsay is excludable at trial. However, there are many exceptions to this rule. Two firmly rooted exceptions are the Idaho Rule of Evidence, present sense impression, a statement describing or explaining an event or condition, made while or immediately after the declarant perceived it. Idaho Rule of Evidence 8032. Excited utterance, a statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement when it caused. So I'm going to give my impression. I could be a little wrong, but y'all hang with me if I am wrong. Don't go after me. I allow myself that privilege to be wrong every day. Unlike a lot of people who have to be right at all costs, including calling people names and all kinds of stuff. I never understood that, how, calling somebody a name declares your statement even more correctly. Like it's going to be more right if I call you a douchebag than if I say, you might be right. I mean, who knows? Well, don't even get me started on that, Jeff. The requirements of the federal version of each of these rules are best stated in U.S. versus Mitchell. That I perceive to be a case law where it showed the understanding of hearsay and the utterance of, as they say, where is it? Excited utterance, which is a statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement when it was caused. So, just based on those two statements right there, I would believe that when we listen to the 911 call, that those females were in an excited state of utterance, wouldn't you? What do y'all think? Do you think they were in a state of excited utterance? Yes or no? I know a lot of people don't believe that this 911 call was real. I don't know how do they believe that we're even having a trial if nothing that's presented is ever deemed as being real? Like, if you don't accept this, then ultimately there's not going to be a trial? What do y'all think? Do you think that's kind of like what their position is as far as that's not real? The 911 call wasn't real. The transcript wasn't real. There was missing pieces. There was this, there was that. The text messages document wasn't real. Well, is the defendant even real? I mean, the lawyers in the courtroom, are they real? Is the judge real? Is there even a real courtroom? Or are we in a simulation where everything is just made up as we think it? I mean, honestly, am I delusional? Did I die in 2010 and this is just an alternate universe? Can y'all answer that for me? Yeah, Claire, I can see that. I mean, I think basically the call, it just, if it is played in the trial, it would just be used to show a timeline. You know, I don't know why they kept it for 2 years under seal because it didn't mention Brian. It didn't mention anything about him other than she saw a man in the house. Um, and here's some more case law. You can go and read this on the Idaho website. And here we go. It says, phone call made within approximately 1/2 hour at least of last lewd acts were admissible under excited utterance except into hearsay rule. Victim was in obvious distress and lapse of time was not so great as to render exception inapplicable. So it starts off by saying that, and then it says, in the case at bar, most of the declarations made were present sense impressions. H.J., as we understand now, as Hunter Johnson, located the unresponsive body of Dana Kernodle and informed Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen to call 911. So as we understand that, that's not how it started. That's how it escalated to that point. Because people were saying, well, the document said that he located the unresponsive body. What happened to the rest of the 911 call? Why didn't they put that in there? Do you get what I'm saying? I perceive these documents as a work in progress, okay? A work in progress meaning that when these documents were made, they were putting all the pieces together and they were showing, okay, well, this is what I want to present in the court because I know the other side is going to try to get this not presentable in the trial. So I want it to meet the criteria of what we can put in the trial. When I put my argument before the jury, this is what I want to be able to say. I want to be able to use some of these scenarios when I'm explaining what was going on the morning after the people were found murdered. So Hunter Johnson located the unresponsive body of Xana Kernodle and informed Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen to call 911. EA was present at the time, so I've learned that that's Hunter's um, girlfriend at the time. All declarants personally perceived the event, i.e., Kernodle unresponsive. The majority of the declarations were describing the dispatcher, Carolina Calvin, what they were perceiving, i.e., present sense impressions. As we all know, we heard the 911 call and they were going through and telling her what they were experiencing. I've heard people say, well, how come they don't mention Ethan? How come they don't mention Ethan? You guys in the chats are really smart. I know you are. Can you help me out with that question right there? Can you type that for the people in the back? What would cause that not to be put in this in this document? What would make them not put Ethan's situation in this document? For the people in the back. Can y'all type it nice and big for the people in the back? I think EA is Emily, you're right. Yeah, Firefly, you're right. But can y'all answer that? What would keep him from being in a 911 call? Do you remember where he was located, supposedly? He was located where? We've been told so much, but I myself believe he was located between the wall and the bed on the far side of the room. But I could be wrong. Yeah, there you go. I think you got to see Ethan to mention Ethan, you know? Hunter didn't tell the girls about him. You're right. Because I believe that when he opened the door and saw Xana, and he was, you know, Xana, wake up, Xana, wake up. At that point, I don't think they even looked in the room. I mean, they're scared to death. They just found their friend dead. People act like they're just looking around the room, taking mental impressions of what they see. Okay, am I seeing blood? Am I seeing this? Am I seeing that? I mean, think about it like this. If the door was shut right there, and I'm sure Dylan had told them about the man they saw the night before, wouldn't you think that they would be sweeping that house, not knowing whether that man was still in that room? Why would you want to open that door and have the killer attack you and kill you in the process? That might be far fetched for you guys, but I'm just saying, could that not happen if, he had not left? What do you think about that? I mean, I believe that because people say, well, why was Hunter summoned? Why were the boys summoned? Hunter and the other guy. How come they didn't call 911? Well, I believe that if you understand that somebody's going to protect you, you trust them. Once again, I've never been a female, but I believe that most females would trust a close friend who lives right next door to get there faster than the cops, who are going to take at least 2 to 3 minutes to get there. It's going to take literally seconds for Hunter to get over there. And he's going to be able to sweep the house, make sure the killer's not there, and then they can come out. But I'm just speculating. That could be too much for people, but tell me what you think. Tell me what y'all think about that. Do you think that's logical or you think that's foolish? Because I'm open to criticism. I mean, I really am. I've had it all day. So, I let me know what you think. I mean, that was my impression why she called him rather than calling the 911. And then you say, well, how come she didn't call him at 4 in the morning when she's hearing all these sounds and crying and all this stuff? This is what I told somebody earlier because they challenged me by saying this, okay? They said she could have called 911 and saved Xana's life. Xana was still crying. I said, just because she was crying doesn't mean that she wasn't dying. People make it like, okay, since they heard crying and whimpering, then Xana could have been saved. And like I said, were you there? Were you in the room knowing the severity of how badly Xana was hurt? Nobody knows whether they could have been saved, but based on what Steve has said and the coroner has said, these individuals couldn't have been saved. Their wounds were so severe that they weren't bleeding out slowly. They were very gashes and tears. I mean, that blood was, their organs and stuff were torn apart. And I hate to be so vivid, but people act like they were just laying there and fell and tripped. And if you would have called 911, it would have saved them. They would have been able to bandage their ankle and everything would have been better. They just had a flesh wound. I'll tell you later. I don't want to reveal that in here. Jeff. So, and also, Dylan's phone was about to die when she finally finished texting Bethany and she was heading downstairs. And he said, well, they could have used Bethany's phone. She could have plugged her phone in. Coulda, woulda, should have. I mean, come on. I hope I'm not doing that. I hope I'm not doing that or have ever done that. I've speculated just like everybody else. But I can tell you that I'm not trying to put pieces that are not the most logical. Okay. It sounded to me like from the text messaging to the 911 call, that was one big cluster. It wasn't as smooth as people made it sound. They made it sound like Dylan got downstairs with Bethany. She went to sleep. She woke up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Text Kaylee, text Maddie, please answer. Are you up? No answer, no response. She called her dad, had a talk with her dad, probably told her dad exactly what she heard. He probably told her, is there anybody that can come over right away to make sure that there's nobody in the house? Because at this point, I'm pretty sure they still didn't know that there was murder that had happened. You can contradict me all you want, but believing and knowing are two different things. When Hunter opened that door and you heard on the 911 call him scream, Xana! I believe that's when he saw the blood. He saw Xana's probably cold and, not cold, but he saw, her being deceased. And he said, get out, get out. He didn't say, come look at this. Come help me. He didn't say any of that, did he? No, he did not. But still, people want to act like it was something that if they would have made different choices, the roommates would have been alive. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reaching. What do y'all think in the chat? Do you think that if they would have called 911, they could have saved any of the four? As fast as it happened, as fast as that crime happened, do you believe that as fast and as vicious as that crime happened, do you believe that if she would have called 911 at 4:23, right? I think that's what it was. Then she would have been able to save any of the four. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Well, I mean, thank you, Rondi. That's exactly what I've heard, and that's what I've read. I mean, Steve said, there's no way that they would have been 911 would have saved them. So you're telling me that the families who have seen the wounds and have been told, look, this is what happened. This is what it looks like. Don't you believe that they would have asked, hey, if 911 would have been called, could they have been saved? I mean, I'm sure they probably said no. No, they wouldn't have been able to be saved because it was such a vicious attack. I mean, you've seen some of these other crimes that we cover, you know? People die instantly or within a couple of minutes. It's not like they sit there and stagger around and fight for life and then succumb to it 20 minutes later. You know, it's not like that happens. I showed a video and I can't show it because I'll get, you know, they'll like take my whole damn live down. But the video is in my library and it's in the members only. And it shows an individual getting sliced in a jugular. The dude sliced him so quick, sliced him in the jugular. The dude puts his hand on his neck. He's in shock at that point, and he's wondering what the hell just happened. He staggers a little bit, and then he falls back, and he dies. He bleeds out right there. If 911 would have been right there on the spot, they still couldn't have saved him. So we don't know the severity of these injuries, other than the fact of what we've been told. There were tears, there were deep cuts, you know? So that tells you a lot right there. So let me keep reading this. These statements relate to Cornado being passed out and not waking up. The declarations were made immediately after Hunter Johnson discovered Cornado's body. Some declarations made would also be considered excited utterances. These statements include, oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. As well as the heavy breathing and crying that can be heard throughout the call. We definitely hear that. The declarants were responding to a startling occasion. Discovery of an unresponsive roommate. The statement regarding a person being in the home is a direct response to why Cornado might have been passed out. All statements are made while the declarants are processing what is happening and what were made before an opportunity to reflect and fabricate while Cornado is unconscious. Clearly, the statements of Bethany Funk, Dylan Mortensen, Emily, I don't know her last name, Hunter Johnson, and the dispatcher, Carolina Calvin, fall within the hearsay rule exceptions. Judge John Judge has already ruled that the 911 call is not hearsay, not offered for the truth of the matter asserted, and even if deemed hearsay, the exception for present sense, impression, and excited utterance apply. On August 23, 2023, defendant moved to dismiss the grand jury indictment. One basis for that motion was that the 911 call was improperly admitted hearsay, cumulative, irrelevant, and an improper attempt to bolster witness testimony. In response, John Judge held as follows. So, do we still not have a lawyer in the chat? No lawyers yet? Paralegals? Okay, so let me know if a lawyer comes in the chat. But let's try not to call names, Jeff. Just call them the other channels or something. He says, further, even if the 911 call is hearsay, the exceptions for present sense, impression, and excited utterance apply at the statements made by the callers, the surviving roommates, and Hunter Johnson and another friend who had arrived were made immediately after Hunter Johnson discovered Miss Cornado's body and instructed the roommate to call 911. So it gives another case study. And then it says, sealed order denying motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct. And I saw something today about that prosecutorial misconduct where they had Bill Thompson's face and they had something about prosecutorial misconduct. I don't know if that was that was something about this, or if it was something else that they're still holding on to, the Brady Giglio thing. Regarding the emotion in the caller's voice, the judge further held that the evidence was relevant as to why law enforcement was sent to 1122 King Road on November 13, 2022, as opposed to just EMS when the call was for an unconscious individual. Well, last night I had an individual who was an ex EMS worker, or she was a paramedic, and she answered a lot of these questions that I had for her. Why would they stand the EMS down? Why would they? What happens whenever EMS arrives on the scene? What is her role? And she answered it. I'm not going to paraphrase it because I can't remember exactly all that she said, but she had some great answers. So it's in the live from last night. It's toward the middle, in between the two cases. So if you want to know what she said, go check that video out. It said this testimony was deemed relevant to the effect it had on dispatcher Calvin and was not cumulative of Officer Nunez's testimony. The statements made on the 911 call are admissible regardless of whether or not witnesses testify. So whether they testify or not, which I doubt that they won't, but this is admissible regarding whether they testify or not. Under IRE 803, present sense impressions and excited utterances are admissible whether or not the declarant is available as a witness. Any statement found outside of the above exceptions to hearsay are non-testimonial for purposes of a Crawford analysis. Further, even if somehow deemed testimonial, the Confrontation Clause of the Sixth Amendment does not bar their admission. Finally, we reiterate that when the declarant appears for cross-examination at the trial, the Confrontation Clause places no constraints at all on the use of his prior testimonial statements. Then it gives another case law. The clause does not bar admission of a statement so long as the declarant is present at trial to defend or explain it. Then it gives another case. The state submits if any of all the declarations made are deemed testimonial, each of the declarations will testify at trial. The conclusion of this, based on the above cited authority, the state respectively prays for the court's approval and limine of the admission of the recordings and transcripts of the 911 call to Whitcomb on November 13, 2022, immediately following the discovery of Xana Kernodle unresponsive at 1122 King Road. Respectively submitted 24th day of February 2025. I mean, just reading that when it had to do with Xana being found, I would believe that the reason that they only used Xana is because she was the one that they found before everybody else. It's not like they said they found Xana and Ethan at the same time, and he's like, Ethan, Xana, get out, get out, get out. You know what I mean? Like, he found Xana, and that was it. So everybody else was found by law enforcement after the fact. So I believe well, here's a good question. Did she say who pronounces a patient dead at the scene? She said EMS does. She said that they document because as they go in to investigate, they have to identify whether there's any sign of life. So if there's not any sign of life, they have to document everything that they see pertaining the person who is deceased. So LE doesn't do it, at least here in Texas. I mean, I don't know in Idaho, but at least here. Oh, yeah? I'll get you, my pretty, then your little dog, too. Oh, my God. That sounds like somebody we know, huh? And she rides a broom. Is that not coincidental? Did that answer your question, Firefly? That's what she told me. She said that they were the ones that went in and had the declaration of there not being any more sign of life. So they were the ones that officially gave. So the coroner showing up at 4 o'clock was neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? Like one thing, she stated that EMS was probably told to stand down until law enforcement was done with their investigating and, kind of like clearing the house or whatever, and, quarantining it off, making it a safe crime scene, making sure there wasn't any anybody in there. You don't want somebody still being in there. You don't want people DMS getting hurt going in there to try to save somebody. But once they went in, given the thing to go in, they were the ones usually that pronounce whether there's sign of life or not. I mean, even if you can see somebody not having their color or anything like that, you still have to wait for a professional to declare it. You know what I mean? Oh, the hospital nurse, and we could pronounce dead. No pulse, no blood pressure. Yeah, I think that's the same thing, Firefly. I think that's the same thing. Because, I mean, law enforcement, even though they might be trained in CPR and first aid and stuff, I don't believe that they're trained to, decipher whether somebody's alive or dead. I think that has to do with the medical personnel, and you're right. So I'm sure you saw a lot of stuff that we talk about in these cases. I couldn't do that job. I tried it, but I couldn't do it. It's just too much for me. I guess what I'll do is I'll play Jeff's version of it, and then we can kind of go along with this, even though it doesn't, it doesn't go step by step. Let's see. I wish I knew how to put these two things up there at the same time. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do that. I guess we'll just do Jeff's and then I'll go over the document again. Oh, I thought that was my on-call phone ringing. I was like, ah, damn it. I am on call, so if I gotta turn this off pretty quickly, then that's what's going on. Unless we got a celebrity among us. Jeff has over 6,000 views on this. So we have a celebrity. That's a good point. Let me put that up there before I start this. That defibrillator, they would attach it to the patient and analyze the heart rhythm, if any. Yeah. Even if no signs of life, that we use the defibrillator. Jeff ate the celebrity. Here we go. I know y'all have heard this, and I'm not playing this for any other reason than what I'm going to go over the document here in a minute. So Jeff kind of made a good visual here.
11:55 a.m. 42 seconds, November 13, 2022.
911 location of your emergency.
Hi, something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What? 3731.
So let's say this call had been made at what time? Between 4 and 4:23. Imagine this call being made at that time of night. Same scenario, same outcome. Okay? Those people that claim if 911 would have been called, something different would have happened. Because this is 911 being called, just at a different time. But think about it. If this is 4:23 and she would have called 911, this is what would have been going on, because they would have called other people to come make sure there was nobody in the damn house that was going to hurt them. I don't know. That's just a thought of mine. What do y'all think, women in the chat? Would you have called somebody to come make sure that there was nobody in the house that could potentially hurt you so you could leave the room? Or were you going to call the cops and be like, okay, we're going to stay here even longer because we're having to be in the room. We don't know what's going on. I mean, honestly, they were in that room. And if they would have called 911 in the morning, like in the mid-morning or whatever, or even at 4 in the morning, what are they going to tell the operator? We heard what sounded like our roommate say someone's here. We heard some whimpering and crying, and we heard, it's okay, I'm going to help you. Well, can you go and look and see what's going on? These girls are scared shitless. Do you think they would have left that safety of that room at 4 in the morning after she just saw a man leave the house and not know exactly what the hell was going on? So imagine this 911 call, instead of it being at 12, it being at 4:23 in the morning. Now, close your eyes and imagine that at 4:23. Okay? Here we go.
Tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates is passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi,
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to. Did you pass out? He's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way. Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20.
Okay. Hello?
And let me ask you all this. How would they have known that that Ethan stayed the night even? You get what I'm saying? What if Ethan wasn't even staying that night? So it's not like they were looking for him. They were looking for Xana because Xana lived in that room and she wasn't responding to any texts, any calls. Well, yeah, that makes sense. His Jeep. You're right. Like I said, I'm open to being wrong. But yeah, I don't know why they didn't look for Ethan. I can't answer that. Other than when Hunter opened that door, he saw Xana and Ethan at the same time and then said, "Get out, get out, get out." You get what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Right, right. I understand that. But I don't know if he wasn't visible when they opened the door or he didn't go all the way in. You know what I mean? Well, we don't know how she was on the ground. I mean, we don't know if she had her hands tucked under her. We don't know how she fell. We don't know if she was on her stomach. We don't know if she was leaning against anything. We don't know any of that. Her fingers were not cut off, no matter what people have been saying. They said they were severed almost to the point of being cut off. They didn't say they were cut off. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was a horror scene or not. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I'm just going based on what I've heard, as well as you guys. That's what the last that I heard as far as her having defensive wounds. We don't know how she fell. We don't know even if she fell. We don't know if she slid down the wall. We don't know if she was on her stomach, on her side, her hands were tucked under her. We don't know. We don't know. But yeah, that could have very well been right there. Most likely he saw the first thing Xana and closed the door right away. Of course. I mean, I don't know. Another thing this lady said in the chat that kind of ran me a little weirded is she said, I'm not built like everybody else. When I hear the 911 call, I have no emotion to it. How could you not have any emotion to people being scared that they just found their friend murdered? How could you be so callous to not even have empathy to put yourself in that position? Nobody's asking everybody to have the feeling of crying and overwhelmed and all that. Nobody's saying that. But I mean, show a little empathy. I would think so. I mean, but I was like, really? Okay, be you. Yeah, I heard that too. I heard that yesterday, and that's a very good point. If there was a black rug there, that could have happened.
Hello? Okay, I need someone in the around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry. Phone.
Is she breathing? Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
Bethany, Delon needs you to talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. They need you to talk to them.
Hello.
Okay. I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have it. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, we have one.
So are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m. 49 seconds, November 13, 2022.
Like I said, I don't know how anybody could hear that and not have a response of some sort where you can understand that these people were in a panic, that they were not faking this, they were not acting it out, they were not crisis actors, there were none of that. And that's what this says. And it, and I think people are confused a little bit whenever the 911 operator was asking so many direct questions. I believe it's their job to kind of discern what type of help to send you. If they just send police or if there is medical needed, because they're not going to send the fire department, the ambulance, and the police if it's just, a domestic issue or something like that. I mean, in an unconscious person, I think that kind of did warrant the EMS and the police and, everybody that showed up. But we've heard so much stuff. I remember hearing early on from somebody that they said there was a group of kids standing out front, and as the officer approached, one of the kids muttered the word dead, and then it went from there. Do y'all remember that? I think it was a news article. that reported that. I mean, the sad part about this whole case is all this stuff that they're releasing at this point should have been released a long time ago. They should have just let us see it from the beginning. They shouldn't have been hiding it from the beginning. They should have just let it be released. That was from Blum's book? Okay. I remember hearing it somewhere. I just can't remember where, I'm glad that you guys have a good memory because, that helps out a lot. It really does. Like all these documents that are coming out right now, I was talking with somebody that is a lawyer, and they were telling me, they said, these documents really don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. These aren't the documents that have, this is not the heavy hitters. This is not what's going to make or break the case. This is not what's going to be the heavy evidence. It's not going to be the heavy hitter. I mean, that's why it's so scrutinized, I guess, because they believe that, if you debunk this, then, there's no timeline, there's no emergency first thing in the morning, I just feel bad for the two survivors and their families and their friends and all the people that were at that home that morning. Because you know what? They've had to live with this every day. People scrutinizing their every move or lack of, as if they wouldn't know what to do at that moment in time. Frozen shock phase is a thing. Whether you believe it or whether you want to make fun of it, whether you want to, scrutinize it and say that, you've never been frozen in shock. Well, you probably have. You just didn't know that's what it was called. But it is a real thing, And a lot of this stuff that's coming out, you can say, well, Dylan should have done this, or Dylan should have done that, and Dylan is this, and Dylan is that. And what was Bethany doing? What was she doing down? Bethany was living her life on a Sunday night in her room. Does it really matter what Bethany was doing? Is that going to solve the case? Honestly, it doesn't matter what Dylan was doing. Other than she saw a man walk by her door, she gave a vague description that put somebody in the house when the murders were being when they were occurring. That's it. It's up to the state to put everything together to show the jury that without beyond a reasonable doubt, this was the guy. And this is how they believe it happened. So this is not the heavy evidence, this is not the heavy hitters. So to sit there and say that, every piece of document from here on out that they release, we're going to, tear it apart and act like this is the puzzle piece that's going to make or break the case. I mean, it's going to be a long, how many months now? April, May, June, July, August, 5 months. What do you mean by that comment, Melissa? You're sure that she saw you're not sure she saw something, though. I mean, even if she saw a shadow, it's more than, I mean, she was pretty descriptive each time she was interviewed. And even the next morning, she was clear enough. You heard it on the tape. She was clear enough to say there was a man that was in our house at about 4 a.m. in the morning. So how drunk really was she? You know what I mean? How drunk was she if she could remember that at first thing in the morning? You know what I'm saying? Exactly, Bianca, exactly. And I'm glad that we can have a civil conversation about it, because for us to sit here and fight amongst each other and draw lines and call names and all this other stuff, it just doesn't make sense to me how that makes one person feel better about themselves. What's it going to really matter if you were correct on every aspect? Is that going to make you a genius? Is that going to get you a better job? Is the FBI going to hire you because you solved the case online? I mean, are you going to go work for the defense? I mean, if he becomes innocent, are you going to, are you going to use your internet sleuthing skills to get a job to assist wrongly convicted people? I mean, what? I don't understand the end game of people. I mean, if there really was an objective that gave you a purposeful life, I would get the animosity and the anger and the frustration and all that. But to me, it just doesn't seem like there's an end game other than you want to be the smartest person in every chat. You want to be the person that everybody looks up to and asks questions to and all this stuff, even if you don't know the answer. Which, if that's how you got to live your life, I mean, live it how you want. But I can tell you, I'm not the one. I try not to disrespect people. I really don't. But everybody has their limits. Everybody has their limits. And one thing I don't like is victim shaming. I don't like that at all. I hate it. What if Dylan is being framed? See how that sounds, Melissa? Because people are framing her for the murder. If she was a man, they would have arrested her and Bethany, according to people. You know what I mean? I don't believe he's being framed. This case, I have lost and gained friends It is really sad. Creators fight, lie, even scam. It's really sad. I pray for them all. You know, I feel you on that, Bianca. I really do. I mean, it's like, why? Why must it be so dramatical? If you can't take criticism, maybe this isn't the place or the platform for you. I mean, I see people calling people hoes and bitches and all this other stuff, and they're making fun of people. How I've been made fun of. I like that. And Firefly, I'm glad that you're back because you and I had a disagreement one night, and we kind of, I guess I read your comment wrong, and we kind of lost our way. But I'm glad that you made your way back in here and you feel comfortable again to be in here because I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable in the chat. I really don't. But I'm a human being too. I don't like being made fun of. I don't like having my name or having people call me names. I mean, that's immature, and I can take so much. You know what I mean? Yeah, Bianca, you're right. I think I did. I think I took it wrong. It was probably me. I was probably on a rampage already that night, and it was probably me. I apologize for that. I had no right doing and going like that. I apologize. I'm glad that you made it back. I really am. Thank you for that. You know, I accept your apology too, Melissa. I mean, it wasn't just you. There's a lot of people that play roles in this as well. Some people just come into chats and they want to be right, and they want the whole chat to kind of worship their knowledge. I mean, it's like, okay, but some of the stuff that they talk about, they may or may not know, and they make up stuff along the way. And before long, we get to where we're at today, 2 years down the road. You know, bunch of liars and fabricators in this case. It's ridiculous. I hope you're feeling better, Melissa. I'm glad you guys are spending the evening with me. I went to work out. We're having a severe dust storm. The winds are blowing like 40 miles an hour. You can hardly see outside. I wasn't going to get online, but then I thought, you know what? I'm going to get on for a little bit, talk about this, and see who wants to come hang out, you know? I don't know. Call me old fashioned. I can't stand liars, thieves, manipulators, people that use people. I can't stand it. And I don't like people that are wishy washy and don't have a backbone. I want somebody to stand for something. If you can't stand for something, then you'll fall for anything. But like I've always said, I'm not the moral compass of YouTube. The only person I can talk about is myself. And for the most part, that's what I do. Damn, dust on pollen. This is like, it looks like the Wizards of Oz outside. That kind of dust storm. Melissa, I hope your knee's okay. When did you hurt it? When did you hurt your knee? I had knee surgery my senior year. They scoped it. I didn't get it cut. I don't know if they still do that or if they just scope them nowadays. So is there any cases that you'd like to see me cover in the near future? Because I'm running out of suggestions. I mean, I've done a lot of them, and we can't do Idaho every night. God, we'd want to tear our hair out. No, not this bad weather. I think those cases we covered last night were pretty interesting. I think I want to cover some more truckers, serial killer trucker stories. I think those are pretty interesting if I can find any. What do y'all think? Y'all give me some suggestions? Karen Reed is going to trial April 1st. Okay. Yeah, I know a little bit more about Karen Reed now that I did that, that live that morning. Y'all believe she's guilty? Chicago Ripper crew is pretty bad. 12, did you watch that documentary on Netflix about the Zodiac? It's pretty good. Looks like Alan was the man. Yes, I did, Texas. That was awesome, man. I like that. It was weird how much he fit into the community. He would just like they say, he was a normal guy. He was a normal guy. Nobody would have suspected a thing. And then, yeah, I agree with you. He was the guy. Do y'all believe that Karen Reed is innocent or guilty? What do y'all think? I don't know enough about the internal parts of the case. I just know the very basic. Supposedly, she backed up and ran over her boyfriend who was coming out of the house. He was intoxicated. She was intoxicated. And then she drove home, I think. I don't know. That could be wrong. I think she was drunk and shouldn't have been driving. Not so sure she hit him or that it was intentional. Yeah. I've not really followed the Reed case. She probably did it, but I'm not sure. Haven't paid it no mind. I mean, it's an interesting one. She got a dismissal or a mistrial the first time, I think. So it's back and popping. So I think I'm gonna call it a night, y'all. This smoothie really went down pretty good. My girlfriend's having issues. Y'all say a little prayer for her. She's having some stomach problems, and I hope she gets better because nobody needs to be having that stuff. You said you watched the first trial, which was 8 weeks. It was very, very interesting. Well, thank you, Bianca. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your opinions. I appreciate everybody's thoughts. I think a son killed his parents and then stayed in the home for 2 weeks. Up around there. Thank you. And her name's not Jamaica. It's something else. I just can't really disclose it for her protection, She's an assassin. Anyways, you guys have a good night. Texas, you better get out there and put stakes in the ground in your truck and stuff like that. This wind is coming your way. The rest of you, if you're east of here, and be prepared. These winds are hardcore. Y'all take care. Maestro, y'all cue that music. I'll see y'all soon. Y'all be safe out there.